I came to this place as a young climber in 1969, and I became a tangata whenua, for using Eric's term. Eric used the term tangata maunga this morning, people of the mountains. So I'm talking more about tangata wharepuki iti. This is for front country. I'm talking about the front country, not the back country. Many of you people here have been focusing on the back country. So the front country is the country which is within an hour or two or three of the road end. That's where most of the pressures that big pressures that dock face, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. It's my own summary of the issues as I've seen this place, Tongariro Alpine Crossing, over the years I've been working here. So the Tongariro Alpine Crossing, or TAC for short, is a challenging 20-kilometre hike, one-day hike, across the scenic Tongariro volcanic massif in Tonga National Park, which is a World Heritage Area. And I'm going to talk about the history, the benefits, the people's likes and dislikes, the management concerns and issues, and some sustainability goals. Here's the track as it comes up the highest point, the Red Crater. This is the central part of the crossing. This is one of the most popular places to have lunch, and on through down to Kiritahi. Here's again the view in the mountains in the winter. It's an alpine area subject to severe weather year-round. It's the centre of the North Island. It's very accessible, and the visitor use peaks in summer, because in winter it's more alpine. And it has 3 historically active volcanic vents. Ngauruhoe used to be the most active volcano in New Zealand. Ngauruhoe is this one here, Red Crater, the track goes right along the rim of Red Crater. That last was active 70, 80 years ago. And then Tamari erupted a few years ago, and it was a significant event for us. It took us about 2 years to recover from it. I could talk a whole talk about the history of the crossing, and Dave Bamford did a really neat report on this, and I'm just picking a few pieces from it. It started off as originally Maoris were going up to Kiritahi Springs for therapeutic and cultural reasons, and they were also birding up there for taiko, the petrels. Then about 1904, just after Waihonu Hut, the early tourist hut in New Zealand, was built, there was a bridle trail built up on Tongariro. And this photograph on the left is an early visit of European tourists, 1908, visiting one of the Emerald Lakes. And I've put up there few people and no management. There was virtually no management. At the time, there was a chief ranger who was an ex-armed constabulary policeman, and he was busy trying to introduce heather into the national park, which is now our biggest pest. So I often talk about, when I want to get at one of our managers in operations, early operations manager, Paul, this is their legacy that they were. So we've got to be careful with our legacy. But fast forward through a whole lot of other stuff, we have in 2013 the opening ceremony of the Tongariro Alpine Crossing after the eruption, and epitomising the strong move towards co-management that we have now. Now very, very difficult to do anything meaningful without tangata whenua. So having good relationships, good personal and professional relationships with the iwi is really important to us. And I could talk for hours about this. But this is a slide which is a composite slide. The bottom of it is from Dave Bamford's report, but Dave's my oldest friend, but he screwed up the projections. Some famous scientists said it's very difficult to make predictions, especially about the future. And so I've put the modern counter data, our visitor counter data, over it, hiding the Dave's projections for the future. So DOC was formed in this period here. This is about when public transport first started coming in the crossing. People could get public transport. Before that, they couldn't. This whole area from here when I first arrived in the scene, there was a strong summer program. DOC would be taking 4 or 5 summer program trips in successive days. But the guiding started kicking in, the numbers coming up. And in this area here, you can see the numbers have really taken off. And the current use growth is about 9% compound growth a year. So here's some numbers up here. In 1992, there was about 11,000 people crossed the track, and that was about 20% of the users of the track network. In 2015, last year, around about 110,000, about 80% of the people on the track. And it's my belief that the numbers can't keep on growing like this. Either the numbers and or the experience will crash somehow. whether it's a share market crash or Auckland housing market, they don't keep on going like this. And so we've got to make some hard decisions about new management, and has to be effective new management. We can all think of other management which won't necessarily be effective. So the economic benefits, there's a large number of people, almost 90% people stay 1 to 2 days. It's roughly about $20 million a year generated. So the strong growth, which concessionaires love. 80 to 90% of people use buses or rental vehicles. There's 43 concessions, more than 50 bus companies involved. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of businesses making money out of this place. And one thing that Bob Smith pointed out, there's an increased number of school and youth groups and visitors, benefits for education, which pay benefits in the future. Hard to put a monetary value on that stuff. The demographics we know pretty well. They're mostly young people, almost 50% are 20 to 29. Strong international tourism component. Now, there's a small number of those that live in New Zealand, but for these purposes, range 70 to 80%. And it appears to be a weak trend now. There used to be quite a strong trend. International's got more than national visitors about 1990, and since that time it's sort of plateaued out. And we're having discussion this morning about whether New Zealand's getting crowded out. Well, the New Zealanders, it's a dotted line, they've increased. The New Zealand component has actually increased. Percentages dropped or stabilised, but the number of New Zealanders is not going down. So domestic destinations, many from Auckland, of course, hardly anyone from the South Island. Gender, pretty much even ratio. Party size, relatively small. And about 60% have done only 0 to 1 hike of this kind a year. It's taken us a long time to get that stat, because people like Christine from Alaska, people are quite self-interested when they do these social surveys, and you're not necessarily getting the accurate facts. So here's a word art. This is what people like out of this place. So scenery, landscape, lakes and craters. And this is similar to their expectations before they come here. So there are clearly strong benefits, and clearly a majority of people are satisfied with this place. Huge sense of achievement. And these help meet Doc's big goals. Big hairy-ass goals was Lou's term originally. It's been sanitised to stretch goals. I don't like that word stretch, but anyway. And we're already meeting one of them, we think. 50% of international visitors are visiting a national park. So we're not doing it ourselves, but this is what Doc's doing. And the other big goal is 90% of New Zealanders are enriched by our nature. What do they not enjoy? So they hate the weather. We can't do much about that. Doc hasn't control of the weather. The ascent, or should we put a tunnel under Red Crater? Would you like that? Crowds and lack of toilets, or state of the toilets. They're the two things we can do something about. So just note, lack of toilets and crowds. So I've put a lot of thought into the manager and how these issues are, what are the issues, and I've divided them into two groups. The ones that just we can solve with money, we just need money. And I've ranked them in terms of a cost per person. So track works, including depreciation, about $3 a person. Rescue, SAR, volcanic risk management, visitor safety, it's about $2 a person. Toilets, waste management, about $1.50 a person. These are including depreciation. And there's a couple of other issues there. So interestingly, rescue and search and rescue has been a big issue in the national park. The first management plan in 1965 was about 20% was covering search and rescue and rescues. Now it's about 0.01%, but it's still a big business. In terms of the challenges to solve, I've put other ones here, but crowding is the one I want to talk to, and maintaining satisfaction. So track management, quickly go through this. The volcanic, vulnerable soils, huge number of people walking on them. We've upgraded about $250 a metre. Then there's maintenance, and there's issues about limits to upgrading tracks in the mountain. Do we have handrails in the mountain to keep people safe, and so on. Safety and risk management and the TAC visitor. So there's limited understanding of personal responsibility. Most people are prepared very well. They don't always access information, although it's there. So there's been no trauma fatalities for 5 years. Lots of near misses for reasons that you can understand. Many rescues, well-developed rescue system, which is free. And interesting, this photograph here, we had the first baby rescue this last summer. So risk management in active volcanic areas. Volcanic eruptions are most likely cause of mass fatality event, and unmitigated, that's roughly about 1 every 10 to 20 years or so on average. But we think we can push it out to 1 every 90, 100 years with our good warning system. There's only one concessionaire that makes a valuable contribution, that's Ruape Alpine Lifts. All the other concessionaires don't contribute, apart from the concession fees, which we never see anything of. Okay, so toilets, dissatisfaction rates are pretty high. We plan to double the number of toilets in the next couple of years. It's going to cost us 700,000, Will Bamford just told me, it's up a bit. Difficult siting solutions. So this one here is what I was referring to when I asked the question this morning. This is Red Crater. The chief of Tūwharatua has recently made it a suggestion or a recommendation or request to us to put a toilet at Emerald Lakes, which is a very difficult thing to do. So we looked at a whole lot of sites. This is the one where we think is the best. And it's going to be a visual challenge. And I came to this conference thinking poo kits are impractical, but I'm not so sure now. Incredibly difficult, and I'm not going to want to lead that project. But it's possible we could do something about that in 20 years' time. Crowding perception. This is what I want to spend my last slides on. You've seen that slide before on the right-hand side. I call this concessionaire's step. So in 2005, after about 8 years of discussion, we funded a study called looking at integrated use limits or carrying capacity. And this came up with an idea that maybe 600 people or so was the limit. And then in 2012, another survey, slightly different methodology, came up with a similar number. That's 600 counts per day on the Kiritahi visitor counter. That's when negative perceptions, sense of crowding started, people's experience started being detracted by the number of people there. And in 2005, about 20% of those days had that number of people. By 2012, it was about 34%. And last January, April, it was about 55%. And the last summer, again 3 days with more than 2,000 people on it, just over 2,000 people. That's the number that is best we can get. I'm not talking about the tracks generally, I'm talking about the Tongariro Alpine crossing. But I believe that this overuse, overcrowding on the Tongariro Alpine crossing needs some kind of solution. It's not a single solution, whatever it is. Various people for almost 20 years have been suggesting staggering start times, and that's been happening. If you can look at those graphs in detail, the staggering times has been started. But meanwhile, more and more people have been coming. People are going for now marketing for the sunrise trips. And so the crowding is not getting less, it's getting more. So maybe there's some kind of a booking or quota system or user charge. And I do acknowledge the absolute necessity of having some kind of taxpayer discount, New Zealand resident discount. Transport management, most visitors use transport concessions, so that's a mechanism that we can use somehow. But it's very controversial. All this stuff's incredibly controversial. When you talk to the concessionaires, they don't want to know. So I'm expecting, if I had a letterbox, I'll say this advisedly because I've been through this, I half expect a bomb through my letterbox or worse, a turd laid in my letterbox. Concession management, there's the whole lot of legal constraints. Some people say that when it's about environment and safety issues, it's not an issue, but it actually is. It's quite difficult. We get legal opinions all the time from Crown Law about what we can or cannot do. And the management plan process, Mike's talked about that, it's really important. And I'm concerned that our management plans are still have integrity, but more focused consultation is really important, and other government funding, or some other funding. We can't do it on our own. So I'm suggesting a revision of goals. So limit numbers somehow. Ensure the world-class visitor experience is protected and provides ongoing economic benefits to tangata whenua and local communities. However we do that. As part of that, manage transport logistics. So work with concessionaires to ensure their businesses work with that first goal. Optimise risk management. Pay more heed to the alpine volcanic environment and visitor responsibility. We're going through a visitor safety review in DOC. Tongariro Alpine Crossing is very prominent. People in Wellington worry we're going to screw up. Well, people get killed in Tonga National Park by an eruption one of these days. It won't be that long. It's amazingly lucky no one's been killed so far. But they will have incredible experiences being killed, I tell you. That's the main thing. Yeah, someone said that's the main thing. Don't forget that. I'm not trying to knock this stuff. I love it. I love seeing people happy in Tonga National Park. Watching eruptions, it's fantastic. Skiing or whatever. But we do have to cherish Tonga National Park. We have to protect the values of Tonga National Park, but, almost above all. Protecting the values of the National Park is really important. We should not forget that. And this came out of the agreement with Tūwharatua and DOC earlier. Emphasise the tax value. It's a golden goose. It lays the golden eggs. And we can bring people together. So that bottom right picture is a really effective consultation that we had with the concessionaires when we were trying to open the crossing. We're trying to get the minister's support to open the crossing and dock support. And it was a really good workshop with the TAC users, concessionaires group. So we can bring use the TAC to bring together and unify communities. We know we can do this, but we do need people's support. So I'm going to leave it there.